Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Snark Bait. I'm Christy.
I'm Sophie, and today we were talking about Kristin Cavallari. This is a fun and nostalgic one. We talk about Laguna Beach, the hills, her really, rich love life. There's a lot to unpack there. Her controversies, her big mouth. There's a lot. So let's get into it.
Let's do it. Hey Sophie,
Hi, Christy.
how are you doing on this lovely morning? Do you have your jar of coffee?
I do. I do have my Dura coffee that so many people have asked about, by the way.
A lot
Uh,
of you have been asking. They do ask a lot though, for real.
They ask so much. I actually got a DM from a baby snark yesterday being like, "Thank you for the recommendation. This is life-changing." And we have I accidentally posted that we have the E6. We actually have the E4. So
Oh, I was
that's the
dying.
exact model
When
that
you're
we
like,
have.
you're like, sorry, this is a little bit less expensive, and I made a mistake. It's E4, not E6. Thank you.
Yeah, I actually posted like the really, really, really expensive one. And I was like, I mean, the E4 is still expensive, but it's not as expensive as the E6, and it gets the job done. And honestly, with the amount that I have saved from not going out to buy fancy coffee, like it's so worth it.
Yeah. No, I have had my Breville Barista Express machine for probably 4 years now. I mean, it's certainly not cheap. It's not as expensive as the Jura, but I'm thinking, am I influenced by Miss Sophie Ross and getting a Jura and maybe just selling my Breville Barista Express?
I love how you say the full name. You're like the Breville Barista Express.
BBE, not the BBL, but BBE.
It's funny though, because we were influenced by my parents who got the Jura years ago. And my dad is very like pragmatic and
Love your dad.
he's a Jewish guy. So he's like, he's a little, not to play into stereotypes, but he's a little like, is this worth the money? Like
Oh,
doesn't
totally.
doesn't throw around his money. And he actually like made an Excel sheet. He was like, here is how much money we will save if we make all of our coffee at home instead of buying coffee. And it ends up really saving you money in the end, even if it's up front. It's not cheap, but it's worth it, you guys. It's worth it. I'm sorry, it is.
In a couple of weeks, we're going to be doing a Patreon episode on Sophie and I's favorite things. Like, not just like it could be products, it could be like life hacks. So, if you're interested in things like the Jura that Sophie and I are so into, head on over to patreon.com/snarkbaitpod to hear more of that. Um, God, what else, Soph? What else do you
uh
got on the docket?
I love how like every time we're just like, hey, how's it going, we're like, we're tired, we're stressed, life sucks. um
Speaking of products I love though, Orsay Cosmetics that sent me
oh
a couple
yeah,
of items. I'm wearing their lip infused water magnet serum infused lip tint, and I'm wearing their foundation right now.
cute, cute, love
It's
it.
Asian owned, skincare focused. You can purchase it at Neiman Marcus.
Wow, not sponsored, by the way, not sponsored.
Not
I
sponsored.
On my lips, because I hopefully our fancy cameras work this time.
I
But
know.
last time we recorded with our fancy camera and we ended up not posting it because we had a bunch of technical difficulties. I was like, oh my God, it's so HD. I was like, I can see every pore.
Yep.
My lips look chapped.
Yep.
So I am reapplying my Ole Hendrickson Pout Preserve Peptide Lip Treatment, which I
Love
really
that.
love. So that's another little rec for you. But okay, yeah,
Wait,
I guess that's it.
really quickly. I know we already talked about this on the Patreon, but I have to let the baby snarks know that aren't patrons. So yesterday, Sophie and I recorded a Patreon episode. God, it feels like 5 days ago. Sophie, what was
Yeah.
it on?
Um, what was it? Oh, we did a Q and A. We did a Q and A.
Yes. Oh, that was actually so fun.
It was
Sophie and
really
I
fun. We talked all like, yeah,
crying.
influencers. It was mostly focused on influencers, pop culture, our opinions. We have some, I actually was like staying up last night. I was like, people are going to be mad at like some of the opinions I had.
I know. We said some controversial things on that episode. We recorded it. It's live now as of yesterday. So head on over to, again, patreon.com/pod if you want to listen to it. But anyways, we were supposed to record at 6 a.m. Pacific. And for whatever reason, I recently bought an alarm because I was like, I cannot rely on my phone because Sophie and I often record very early in the mornings. And this is now the second time this week where I've ditched Sophie. Sophie's been up and ready. So anyways, I'm in bed and I hear my phone zzz, zzz, And I wake up, I'm like, fuck, I already know I'm late, right? Check my phone. It's like 6:02. And I was like, oh my God. I pick it up and it's Sophie goes, morning. The Zoom link isn't working. Can you send me a new one? And I was like,
We got bigger problems.
yeah, I was like, Sophie, I literally, yeah, it was just so humiliating for me. Sophie was such a good sport. She goes, got nowhere to go. I'll be there in 30 minutes. I'll see you then. Got nowhere to be. So I'll see you in 30. And I was like, I was so embarrassed. I was like, because I like to be
Don't
very
be
punctual.
embarrassed.
I was so embarrassed because I was still sleeping. And Sophie was just like, poor Sophie on the other end at her computer ready. She goes, Zoom link isn't working. And I was like, the Zoom link isn't going to be working for 30 more minutes until I get to my laptop.
We got a problem.
We- and I saw a comment saying that my voice for Sophie is degrading, and I had to call her. I was like, hey, like, I'm just letting you know, ask any of my real life friends. I've been doing voices since college. It's part of my shtick.
Your voice work.
My
I was like degrading. Like, what? Don't worry, you guys. I would let Christy know. I'm not afraid to let her know. If something offends me or upsets me, she will know. So don't worry,
I
you
got
guys. I'm a good sport. Oh. Oh.
I got so self-conscious because I told Sophie, I'm like, listen, if you want me to stop the voice, you
No,
know,
please don't.
but your voice is beautiful. I know people think it's too Valley Girl, but that's the beauty in this because the voice doesn't sound like this whatsoever. But we got a DM from a listener, and Sophie and I were hysterical. She goes, hey, just letting you know I'm a therapist, and every time I start my sessions, I'll go, hey, how's it going? And in the back of my voice, I'm doing the Sophie frat boy voice.
Yeah, she was like in the back of my head. I'm going, how's it going? Ha ha.
Ha ha! We
We're
got a
like,
pro.
wow, our
Hey, Christy.
impact.
Hey, Christy, Zoom link isn't working.
It's
Send me a new one.
it's the DMs like that that really like make me proud. Like there was that DM that said, I'm a therapist and I want to go, hey, how's it going? And
Huh.
then there was another DM that we got the other day from someone saying, hey, just so you know, like I listen to the podcast so much with my husband that we always go, so you want to show me how you squirt or what? Like the Noah Centineo. And it's
When
like
you,
our impact.
when you posted that, the thing is with our Instagram, like Sophie and Rachel, they manage it all. So every time I go in there, it's a surprise. Like I'm equally a fan of our Instagram as much as you guys because I don't ever see it until it goes live. So I was going on our stories from my own account and I see the Noah Centineo bleached hair picture
Oh
and
my
just
God,
Sophie. I don't know
stop.
if it was you or Rachel, but it was
It was me.
so
So,
like it's so omnipresent in our lives. Every day is baby
so,
Snark, so we have to carry that every day with us.
so.
And I love it every time we repost it because it's every quarter we'll repost that video, and every time without fail, Sophie's dad likes.
My dad, I'm like, Dad, why are you liking that video of this man saying so? Guys, I can't. That's so disturbing.
It's so
Um,
funny.
okay. Should we get into it?
Let's get into it. So, who are we talking about today? Kristin Cavallari, the one, the only. She has been a highly requested. If you want to call her an influencer, if you want to call her a celebrity, if you want to call her a reality star, she is all three. What are your thoughts on KCav, Sophie?
I find her really obnoxious. Like we talked about this also speaking of our Patreon Q&A, we were ranking like our favorite reality shows of all time and Laguna Beach and The Hills are way at the top for me. Yeah. So I appreciate her body of work and I actually, I thought she was a great antagonist on Laguna Beach, an anti-hero if you will, on The Hills. But yeah, right now, today, I find her oversharing really obnoxious. I don't understand like what her point of view is, like what she's ever doing or talking about. She really confuses me today.
Yeah, I think that's very fair. Her whole shtick is, I'm so sick of the headlines. I'm so sick of people reporting all this stuff about
But
me.
it's her. Then shut up.
Exactly.
Then shut up.
Exactly. It's never anyone else. The call is consistently coming from inside the house, which is why I get a little bit annoyed of her shtick. I'm like, we get it. You love men.
Yeah.
You
You
love,
kiss and tell. She kisses and
yes.
tells.
Yes. And I think that's how she's been able to sustain a career well after Laguna Beach. Because there was a bit of a hiatus when she got married to Jay. She had children. She was raising those children. But ever since she got on Very Cavallari, she's been doing nonstop talking about her relationship. So let's get into it. Who is KCAV? Kristin Cavallari. She is a reality TV star turned jewelry business owner, podcaster, fashionista, author. She was born January 5th, 1987, making her 38 years old today. And she was actually born in Denver, Colorado. You may know her from her stints on Laguna, The Hills, Very Cavallari, or perhaps you've purchased a dainty necklace from Uncommon James. So Kristen has an older brother who passed away tragically from hypothermia in 2015 in a car crash. It was a very, very strange circumstances of a tragedy. Her brother went missing. She felt like she was a part of like this TV show of like missing people. They found her brother like in the middle of nowhere, who died from hypothermia.
So sad.
Super sad. That could be a whole other episode in and of itself. But her parents divorced when she was young, and she moved from Denver to Barrington, Illinois, a suburb of Chicago, where she lived with her mom. And she lived in Barrington until her freshman year of high school, and that is when she moved from Illinois to California to become a Laguna Beach resident and later the star of Laguna Beach. And interestingly enough, I have a little bit of tea on Kristin Cavallari as to why she moved. She's very open about how she struggled a lot in her adolescent years. She said, I didn't really have a very stable home life. My parents were separated. I moved between home to home, state to state. I got very comfortable in a lot of change. And I have a little bit of tea that when she was in middle school, she was dabbling in, I think, drinking and weed use, which I think even at that time is pretty crazy. Like, I remember being in middle school and weed being like a whoa. Is that how it was for you guys as well in Cincinnati?
Weed became like very normal our like freshman year of high school, but not middle school.
Yeah, I would say for us, we didn't dabble in weed unless you were like part of like that crew, I guess.
Yeah.
But she admits she smoked a lot of weed in middle school. But I've heard that she got into some trouble with like this is all alleged, by the way, potentially like a man that was she was a minor, obviously in middle school. She got engaged to a I mean not engaged. She was kind of hanging out with a man that was like potentially overage. I don't know. This is all alleged, but that kind of pushed her mom to be like, I can't handle you anymore. You're sneaking out. You're being a bad kid. I'm pushing you over to California, which is what ended up
Hmm.
happening. And she explains that her dad's house was very chaotic as well in a different way because when she left Barrington, her mom had just gotten remarried and she was in like she was part of like a step parent kind of relationship and she was like I don't want to be a part of this. But when she moved over to California with her dad was married to like a much younger woman, almost closer to Kristen's age than his own age, and
Wow.
she didn't feel like she got a lot of attention from her parents growing up, and that's why she was kind of this wild child and she saw a lot of attention in like her relationships. So that
That's
just kind of
sad.
gives you a picture into her home life and her very like important years to in her growing up.
It's crazy to me that she only was attending Laguna Beach since her freshman year. When like the show started, I think she was a sophomore and she was the it girl.
Yes, yes. So
Wow, like she climbed the ranks really fast from being the new
really,
girl to the it girl.
absolutely. So I heard an episode she did with Alex M. If you remember Alex M from
Yeah.
season two,
Yeah,
who was dating
duh.
Jason.
Yeah.
So the reason Kristen even kind of
Wait, Jason
became
was dating Jessica
yes, but then he cheated on Jessica with
with
Alex
Alex.
M,
Oh my
who he
God, why
later
do I not
dated.
remember that?
Oh my, no, when I
Wow.
tell you I'm a Laguna Beach historian. Yeah.
Wow.
So Alex M and Kristen became friends, I think, in driver's ed before Kristen even like enrolled in Laguna Beach High School.
Yeah.
And so she became friends with Alex M, and that's how she kind of became ingratiated into like this popular crew even before she got to Laguna.
Wow.
So just a little, the more you know. I know way too much.
Hmm.
So Kristen briefly attended LMU in LA, but she dropped out to pursue acting. So let's talk about her reality TV career. Laguna Beach began filming during Kristen's junior year of high school, and she was only 17 when casting directors showed up to her high school. And you have to think about this time, right? This was around the time when the OC was popping off. The OC was
Hmm.
super popular. MTV was looking to replicate it in like this docu-soap form. And interestingly enough, being from Orange County, I know for a fact that MTV scouted multiple high schools throughout Orange County until they finally landed on Laguna. And the reason for that was because they would go to these high schools and they would approach these, like, I don't know, the board. And they said, listen, we're trying to pitch this show. It's kind of like Made. Remember Made from MTV?
Hmm.
They didn't really know what they were doing, but they said, our thought process is we're going to actually film at the school, like on campus. And so many schools were like, no, that's going to disrupt the learning process, like, get lost. They approached like Aliso Niguel High School, Corona del Mar High School, if you're familiar with the Orange County area. And I think Laguna Beach was one of the last people that they like begged to film, and Laguna Beach ultimately said sure. Obviously, the show ended up being a very different show. It wasn't filmed on campus whatsoever, but it's interesting that can you imagine a world that was not the OG cast? Like, I can't even imagine a show to be as successful as this one was if you didn't have this specific cast. It's like lightning in a bottle, like Jersey Shore. If you
Yeah.
didn't have like those folks,
Or Vanderpump.
yeah, or
Imagine
Vanderpump.
how different your life would be if they chose your school instead.
Yeah, I was talking to a coworker of mine the other day, and I was telling him we were doing a Kristin Cavallari episode, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm LC's year, and I remember them coming to my high school."
That's so
Um,
funny.
yeah, so it's just interesting how it's so serendipitous how all this ended up unfolding. Because I think about the OC and its footprint on so much pop culture thereafter. Because you had the OC, which kind of
Yeah.
catapulted into Real Housewives of Orange County, which catapulted into Laguna Beach, to the Hills. It really was kind of the beginning of so much TV thereafter.
Yeah.
So producers spent weeks at the high school, and that's when they discovered Kristin. And Kristin says in Back to the Beach, I think her podcast that she later did with Steven in 2022 or 2023, I think, that she was sick. She was playing hooky that day when MTV came to the school, and she was so bummed because she was like, the one day that I'm sick from school, they show up. But of course, producers really honed in on the Steven, Lauren, Kristin love triangle. And at this time when MTV had come to film, Kristin and Steven were an item. They were officially dating. But months prior to that, Steven and Kristin had been on a bit of a hiatus. And this is when he started hooking up with Lauren Conrad. And MTV started hearing mumblings about like, oh, the hottest guy at school was hooking up with Lauren, but now he's back together with his OG girlfriend. And that's when MTV was like, we have to know who Kristin is. Like, get her in, like, on the cutting room floor. We need to interview her. And again,
Hmm.
that's how it came to be. Laguna Beach debuted in September of 2004. Crazy, Sophie. It's been
So
over a
crazy.
decade or two decades. The trio of Lauren, Steven, and Kristin became tabloid favorites. You remember at Hollister, Team Kristin, Team Lauren?
Oh my God, no, but that's so funny.
Yes, at the Hollister locally, it was Team LC and Team Kristin
Oh my
t-shirts.
God.
And it's funny looking back at old episodes when Lauren low-key was such a pick me. Like she would always use the baby face. She was such a like kind of a wet blanket of a cast member. She was low-key trying to steal Kristen's boyfriend. But I
Yeah.
think back then when we were younger, we were always rooting for the all-American sweet girl that was LC. And
Yeah.
Kristen was, like you said up top, was kind of the antagonist. But it's interesting to see the conversation change about with us watching it as adults and saying Kristen was kind of like she was cool. Like she was the cool girl. She could she could play every game and she was good at it.
Well, Lauren was the narrator, wasn't she? So it's like, of course, we're siding with the narrator. I feel like that
Yes.
doesn't happen anymore. Like Lauren Conrad got to be the narrator of both of her shows. Like that doesn't happen now. We have like ensemble casts. Like so of course we were on Lauren's side, and we were like
Yes.
Kristen, even though Lauren was the one trying to steal Kristen's boyfriend.
Yeah, and Heidi and Spencer, even today, will talk about the Hills and they say, listen, the way that Lauren was the narrator for the show was the whole reason why we were painted as villains. If we were an
Yeah,
ensemble cast, I'm curious how people would have received Spidey it had
yeah,
it not been for Lauren's narration and her
right,
being her show.
right.
So the show went on from 2004 to 2006. Kristen famously narrated season two. So Steven and Lauren were kind of like like kind of backseat characters, but it was Kristen's show season two. And call me crazy, I think season two was the best season of Laguna Beach. The Jessica love triangle with Jason, like I feel like
Mm,
that totally made the show.
yeah.
And after Laguna, Kristen moved to LA and she ended up hosting a reality series called Get This Party Started. I do not remember this
I don't
whatsoever.
remember that either.
I think it was on Fox, I want to say, but it premiered in Feb of 2006, but it was canceled only after two episodes.
Okay,
And she
after
was,
2 episodes?
yes,
Oh my God, that's
huge
not
flop.
good.
And I feel after Laguna Beach ended, she kind of faded into oblivion. Lauren Conrad was the it girl. She was being featured in, I remember like they mentioned her in Gossip Girl when Blake
Yeah.
Lively, I think, was interviewing a Brown and they were like, who's someone you would want to meet? And Blair Waldorf goes, yours is going to be Lauren Conrad, isn't it? Like she was such a huge force in pop culture. Lauren Conrad was. And
Yeah.
we kind of forgot about Kristen.
Yeah.
And Kristen says in interviews now that MTV was begging her when Lauren was still the narrator to come onto the Hills, but she said, "Oh, I didn't want to. It's Lauren's show. I don't want to like I don't want to step in, but in my opinion, I'm like, come on, Kristen, you know you wanted to get back out there. Like, I feel like she's leaving certain details out of this. But of course, once Lauren left as the narrator, Kristen ended up getting a deal from MTV that she couldn't refuse, and she decided to become the main cast member and take Lauren's spot. So that was in 2009. In my opinion, the Hills really took a nosedive after LC left. And
Yeah,
I
it
think that's
wasn't the
large.
same.
It wasn't. And we've talked about this in our Patreon episode yesterday, but it just felt like it was so contrived. The storylines were so shoved down our throats. It was clear that everyone was acting at that point. I feel
Yeah.
like I remember watching, or excuse me, reading Perez Hilton's blog at the time and him posting different frames of the same scene where like their hair will be parted differently. And it was clear that they were doing like multiple takes of the same scene or perhaps
Yeah.
doing pickup. It was clear that it was not the reality show that we once thought it was.
Yeah. And the controversy that, we have heard so much about now is when she was getting accused of being on drugs by Lowe and who else was accusing her?
Stephanie.
Stephanie Pratt. Um, the lore is that apparently producers were offering those girls Birkins to present Kristen as someone with a drug habit on TV.
Yeah, and she's even mentioned that she should have sued MTV at that point because she said,
Yeah,
"Yeah, I was like partying, I was doing cocaine here and there, like a lot of 20-something-year-olds do." But she said for them to like fully paint this as like a story arc throughout the show
right,
was wrong of them, which I
right.
agree.
Yeah,
And she ended up being on season 13 of Dancing with the Stars shortly after The Hills ended, but she was third to be eliminated, so she didn't last long. In 2012, she commentated on the Academy Awards for E! 2014, she co hosted fashion and lifestyle trends for the show called The Fabulous. Again, don't remember this at all. She
no.
was also a judge on Miss Universe. So she was kind of dabbling in like these random projects, but she wasn't a force like she was. Apparently, she was in talks with the E Network, for a while to have a reality TV show of her own, which later unfolded to be Very Cavallari, which was born in April of 2018. But at that point, she'd really been out of the game for nearly 8 years because she had married Jay Cutler. They had had 3 kids.
Hmm.
Um, did you watch Very Cavallari?
I actually did. I like barely remember it, but yeah.
Yeah, that's when Shannon Ford came onto
Yeah.
our screens for the first time.
Yep. As Shannon Ford was born.
And unfortunately, lames to go along with that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But people really were interested in the show because I think more so for Jay, because Jay Cutler we'd only seen him on the football field, but people loved his dry sense of humor, and they felt as if he showed very little enthusiasm to be on this
Yeah.
show, and it showed like Chris, you juxtapose Kristen's extreme desire to be back in the spotlight, and Jay had just like retired from football, and he just did not want to be there at all. The show ran for 3 seasons from 2018 to 2020, and Kristen also made an appearance on The Hills New Beginnings, which honorable mention to that show. Me and my roommate in SF were obsessed with The Hills New Beginnings.
It was
And
so bad. It was
oh my
so
God,
bad.
I was obsessed with Misha Barton season one. I loved it.
It was
I don't
so
know.
bad. I
Oh
think
my God.
I remember I watched, were there more than one? There were 2 seasons?
Yep.
Oh my God. I don't even think I watched the second season because the first season was so bad. But I was so excited when this was announced, obviously, as like a Hills super fan.
Yeah, because this was kind of peak COVID as well. So we had
Yeah.
nothing to do but watch these shows. But
Yeah.
no, I was obsessed. Interestingly enough, my best friend ran into Justin Bobby at a restaurant in Orange County like probably a year ago. And he's just like doing the same old shit. He was reaching out to my friend saying, "Hey, I do cuts and colors off of PCH in Huntington Beach if you want to come see me." He
Justin
DM'd her.
Bobby. Oh my
Yeah. But
God.
she said he had that spark that we all
Oh
saw
my
on our
God. And remember when
screens.
she had a love triangle with Justin Bobby and Audrina?
Of course, which she later admits was very fake and put on for the show. She says, "Listen, Justin Bobby and I never dated." She's like, "He was cool to hang out with, and I thought he was hot, but like we never actually dated. It was fully for the show." Same with her relationship with Brody Jenner when they were supposedly dating, but he had a girlfriend the entire time. That was Jade. I think that was that Playboy
J-
model.
Jade.
God, I know way too much
What
about the
a
show and
time.
recall way too much. But
What a time.
she's done a lot of endeavors outside of reality TV. So in 2016, she released a lifestyle memoir called Balancing in Heels. 2 years later, her cookbook, True Roots, and she later went on to publish a couple other cookbooks as well. In 2022, she reunited with Stephen Colletti for her weekly podcast with Dear Media called Back to the Beach, where they would recap episode by episode from seasons 1 to season 2. I loved this podcast. I would listen to it every morning when it released. Did you listen to Back to the Beach?
I didn't. Were you like rewatching it with them?
No, because my recollection was still so strong that I knew exactly what episode they were referring to, unfortunately and
Oh
pathetically.
my God, that's so funny.
And a year later, after Back to the Beach wrapped, she launched her own solo podcast called Let's Be Honest with Kristin Cavallari, offering unfiltered advice, personal stories. And this is kind of where she lost me. I remember thinking, okay, I love the Back to the Beach format. I loved hearing her reminisce on like nostalgic shows that I loved. But I don't know. I think I don't want to sound ageist when I say this, but it's like you're in your late 30s, you have three children, and I think a lot of her desire to talk about her hookups stems from maybe a desire or some a behavior that she would have exhibited in her 20s. Like a lot of what she talks about is
Hmm.
things that I would talk about when I was like 23, 24, living in a city, hooking up, being crazy and wild. I feel like because she got married so young to Jay
Yeah.
Cutler and had kids so young, she wasn't able to live that young 20 something crazy life. So now she's kind of living it in her mid to late 30s. But it's not that I'm
Yeah.
judging her necessarily. It's more so I cannot relate to the things you're saying anymore. I just find it to be a little bit of a tired shtick.
I think that's so true because she was young. She was like, I think like 25 or 26 when she married Jay Cutler, which is young.
Yeah.
And then like popped out a bunch of babies. Like she didn't really get to have that wild child. And that's why she's like so obsessed with her like dating stories and kissing and telling and saying, yeah, Morgan Wallen is good in bed and all of the stuff that reads is very immature. And also she has these children now that are old enough to know what she's talking about. They're not
Yeah.
babies. Like they know now that their mom had sex with Morgan Wallen or whatever, which again, nothing wrong with that.
Fine.
It's just like weird to put that out there now at this like at her age, I don't know. That sounds ageist, but
No, but you
yeah,
know what we're saying though, you guys. Like
yeah,
just being in your at 38 years old, it's a little bit odd to be such a public figure and be so public about your
yeah,
hookups and your dates when you have kids that are old enough to understand and read on their iPads what you're saying about the sex you
yeah,
had last night when you came home from your date. It is a little weird. I don't want to
yeah,
seem ageist, but we've all had those combos, but certainly not like at the age she's at. So
yeah.
in 2025, oh, sorry, over the last 2 years with her deal with Dear Media, she's done very well for herself as it pertains to her podcasting endeavor. So she recently signed a multi-seven-figure deal with Dear Media this month, actually.
Oh my God.
And she's featured guests over the last 2 years, including Travis Kelce, who allegedly she has hooked up with. And she was like super blatant on her show when she had him on. I've seen this clip when she goes, I had the biggest crush on you when you were on
Wait,
Catching
that's a
Kelsey.
good. Wait, that's a good impression of her. That's such a good impression.
Yeah, I'm trying to emulate you and Theo. Thank you. Thank you very much.
My Austin Butler impression.
It's so spot on. But yeah, she allegedly did hook up with Travis Kelce,
Wow.
which is so funny now because he's just like his star power has just exceeded
Why
hers
do we
50 million
know?
times.
Like we know every single person she's had sex with.
We have. And like she leans into it. And I feel like she uses Justin as her like mouthpiece. And we'll get into like the Justin of it all because he's very much enmeshed in all of her drama with like the Southern Charm Boys and everything like that. But she uses Justin as like a vehicle to unearth all of her hookups. Like, do you remember that suspect challenge? Oops, excuse me, suspect challenge on TikTok?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
She used that challenge as a way to divulge everyone she's like been
What
with.
did she say or what was the
He
caption?
um Justin Anderson admitted that she had hooked up with Jason Statham, that she had hooked up with Morgan Wallen. Those hookups were because of that challenge.
She needs to stay away from Jason Statham. He is happily married to Rosie
So Rose,
Huntington Whiteley. They've been married for years now, or yeah, they've been married for years now. They have multiple children together. Like, what are you even doing? I don't know. I just feel like that's so disrespectful. Like, he is a husband now.
he
Stop.
doesn't want to be included in this narrative, Kristen.
Yeah, and I feel like she like thinks it's brag worthy. Like she's like, I am so hot that I have hooked up with, all of these hot, like I've hooked up with this movie star, I've hooked up with an NFL player. Like it's like something that she brags. It's a point of pride for her, which is
Oh,
so interesting. Again, at her age, it's like I think that you're too mature for that. I feel like your confidence should come from within, not from who you've hooked up with.
no, I think that's completely spot on. And we always hear people that got famous are stuck at the maturity level that they were when they got famous.
Yeah. Yep.
She got famous when she was 17 years old when Laguna Beach season one started and she became the star. The way that she behaves is that of a 17-year-old. I don't mean this shadily either. Like
Yeah.
let's be real. It's true.
Didn't she also hook up with Tyler Cameron?
Yes. Well, we'll get into all of her
Yeah.
hookups in a
Yeah.
bit. Don't you wait.
Okay.
I mean, don't you worry. So, in 2025, she kicked off a podcast tour. She went to 5 cities: Chicago, Atlanta, Boston, and New York. I think she did like 2 shows in one of the cities, but excuse me, 4 city tour. And it ended up being recorded for a docu-series on again, after Very Cavallari ended. She's now pushing out Honestly Cavallari, the headline tour, which premiered June 5th of this year. Did you watch this?
No, I absolutely did not. Did you?
Of course I did.
Christy, for the record, you guys, Christy has not seen The Dark Knight, American Psycho.
You'll hear about this next week on our episode, but Sophie is shocked. She's like, "You literally watch horrible things."
Wait, I mean, I've just never met someone who hasn't seen The Dark Knight. But she's like, yeah, I watched Honestly Cavallari, the headline tour, the headline tour,
Honestly, Cavallari colon.
the headline tour.
Thank you.
Like, who the fuck is watching this shit,
No,
Christy?
this is what I'm saying. Like, my brain is full of useless reality TV information. I can recite like every Laguna Beach episode. Could I tell you any like Oscar-worthy film that I've seen in the last decade? Absolutely not.
I think Kelly Laguna Beach posted a clip from Laguna Beach the other day. Do you know what I'm talking about? Of the fashion show where
Oh,
where Lauren was like, put her makeup on. Jessica, you are sitting on so many laps right now.
yeah.
You're sitting on
Dancing
everyone's
everyone's laps. And then she finds out that Jason kissed. I saw you kiss her. No, I'm telling you, like I could recite that entire scene. Yep, when they're underground in that like weird parking structure.
Yeah.
Yep. And in early 2026, Kristen's going to be part of a revival for Laguna Beach that's
Hmm.
set to be on the Roku channel. And they were in Laguna, like I think 2 weeks ago filming.
The reunion. It's the reunion.
Yeah, the reunion. Yeah. God, if I had been there, they were on the beach in Laguna. I was like, shit, I should have just showed up.
Yeah. I can't believe you didn't.
I know. So let's talk about her love life because the list is long. Obviously, Stephen Coletti, she on and off dated Talon Torriero. And on Honestly Cavallari, it was really uncomfortable to watch. They were kind of regaling their high school glory days. And Talon said on the show, on the live show, and on Honestly Cavallari, production forced me to ask you to prom, Kristen, on season 2. And she got like unreasonably, irrationally upset with him on stage for outing this. And it's like,
Move on.
Kristen, you're constantly talking about how everything is contrived. You've been on reality TV for
Yeah.
20 plus years. You know how this shit works. Why are you so upset about Talon being forced to ask you to prom for a storyline? Like,
Yeah, like why is that surprising? Like you know how reality TV works. Also, it's like I love how just her entire persona is peaked in high school and she like embraces it.
yes, yes. And she was like, how could Talon say that? Like, I'm just sick of men. Like, okay, I'm not gonna do this accent anymore, but
It's good.
I'm sick of men riding my coattails and like using my name and likeness to like put me down.
Do you see? Okay, I'm sorry. Do you see Travis Kelsey or Jason Statham using her name and likeness to be like, yeah, like I have clout because I hooked up with Kristen Cavallari. She's the one that uses men's name and likeness to for clout. I'm sorry, she
Great,
does.
great point, actually. Pot, kettle, black.
Yeah, yeah. Oh my God. And also like the whole peaked in high school thing, it's like it's not entirely her fault because the only reason
Sure.
she is famous is because she got cast on a reality show when she was freaking 17 years old. So obviously, I don't know. It's just she is kind of a sad individual, in my
Yeah,
opinion.
I don't disagree. And she constantly tells the same stories over and over to like reignite the headline. So, for instance, that story about the Birkin bag, she's told, I can't even tell you how many interviews.
Yeah.
And another story she always tells is speaking of Talon, when Talon was coming up, do you remember when he was dating like everyone? He was dating Nicole Scherzinger of the Pussycat Dolls. He
Oh my
dated
God,
Lindsay
no, I don't remember
Lohan.
that. But I thought Talon was so cute.
Oh, he was. He's like a king on TikTok. Like he's so funny. I love following him. But Kristen loves to recount the story of when she would visit Talon in LA because he never finished high school. Talon actually left Laguna Beach, moved to LA to pursue like the music and acting gig. And Kristen and Alex H would visit him in LA. Like they would ditch school to go and hang out with Talon. And she said at this
Yeah.
time when he was dating Lindsay Lohan caught, she broke into Talon's home and caught Kristin and Talon in bed together. And Kristen says, "We weren't hooking up. I was fully clothed." Lindsay freaked out. She went downstairs in the kitchen and started throwing dishes.
I'm screaming at your Kristen impression because it's so good.
But I'm telling you, she tells the story all the time about how Lindsay looks. She's like, "Hollywood's crazy, dude." Like, you tell the story all the
Oh
time.
my God,
Like,
she's so annoying.
she's not like other girls, Sophie.
She's not.
A pick me.
Yeah.
And in 2005, she dated Matt Leinart, who, if you remember from season 2, when Steven comes back to Laguna Beach after leaving SF State, she's like, "Me and Steven are done. I'm dating this new USC guy." She dated Brody Jenner for real for a bit, for a year, even pre The Hills, when either of them were on The Hills. And of course, she would later play Brody's girlfriend on screen, which we know to be scripted. She also dated Nick Lachey, obviously,
Obviously, Nick Lachey.
in 2006. This was rumored, but after Nick's very public divorce from wife Jessica Simpson at the time, post newlyweds, Kristen was 19, and there were photos of them papped, leaving a date. And Kristen later admitted that she downplayed the story at the time just to escape the media glare. But it was her first time, she said, dealing with a level of media scrutiny that she was not used to. And she lost friends in all this because one of her friends allegedly sold a picture of Jessica and Nick to the tabloids, which really
Wow.
betrayed her trust, obviously. And in 2006 to 2007, she dated Nick Zano. Do you remember him from What I Like
Mm,
About You?
No, but I'm
He
looking him
was,
up.
he starred alongside Amanda Bynes, super hot.
Oh,
Hot, hot,
yeah.
hot.
Yes, yes.
She had Nick Zano's initials tattooed on her wrist, but she got the initials removed after they broke up in '07. She was rumored to date Chris Evans in 2008. And then in 2010 to 2020, obviously, she got married to Jay Cutler. They were together for 10 years, married, divorced, 3 kids. After her divorce from Jay Cutler, she dated Jeff Dye, the comedian. Do you remember this? This was very
I
recent.
I do remember this. Yeah, this was a
Yeah,
moment.
yes, they were spotted kissing in Chicago in late 2020, but they were like casually dating long distance, and they even said "I love you" to one another on an IG live in Jan 2021. But insiders of her say it wasn't really serious. But remember that whole debacle when she talks about a story that she was supposed to go on a date with Jeff Dye. He ended up being late. He got arrested like for a deal. No, he had gotten into like an accident. He left the scene of the crime and went to go meet Kristen for coffee. And she said that he reeked of alcohol. She said this on her podcast. And the court later used that clip from her podcast against him for his DUI hearing.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, which is kind of fucked up. Jeff said, "We didn't really even date. She made me think I had a chance, but she treated me like a little puppy."
I,
Um, in 2020, she was seen with the Southern Charm Boys, kind of
mm,
around the same time as she was dating Jeff. People were theorizing that maybe she was dating Austin Kroll, and you have to remember this was still around the time that him and Madison were a bit off and on.
yeah.
And there was a live that had gone up of Austin. I remember when this happened. Austin, Craig, Justin, and Kristen dancing around, and I think Justin's living room. They seem to be on some kind of uproar just based on my like observation.
Yeah.
But people were like, "Oh, is Kristen hooking up with Austin? Is she hooking up with Craig?" And we later always, we know now that she had been hooking up with Craig, but there was some confusion as to which man of Southern Charm she was involved with. In 2021, she dated Chase Rice. Remember his whole debacle on The Bachelor with Victoria Fuller?
Okay, yes, but also I know him from Survivor because he was on Survivor
No
Nicaragua.
way.
Yeah, he was runner up, if I recall correctly, which is funny. And he was like, I just want to be a singer.
What year was this?
Oh my God. Let's
Like,
look it up. Nicaragua
can you pause
year.
really quickly?
2010. Sorry. So Chase Rice was on Survivor in 2010.
Oh, okay. Wow. That's a while ago. So even before his country career started to blossom.
He just wanted to be a singer, you know?
Huh.
Huh.
So in 2022 to 2023, she had like a brief relationship with Morgan Wallen. And this was already rumored to have been a thing on Dumois on Reddit for a while. And during an appearance on Watch What Happens Live, Kristen declined to reveal the identity of the celebrity she had gone on a date with. But the one thing she kept saying was, "My friends and I are, I mean, excuse me, my kids are huge fans."
She's so annoying.
It's so fucking annoying. She loves the attention. She
Yeah.
finally confirmed late 2024 that they had in fact dated in that TikTok suspect challenge. And speaking of the Jason Statham, this is how they admitted it. Justin Anderson said suspect's hottest hookup that she's never told anyone about was with Jason Statham.
My
Like,
God. Once again, it's like
no one asked.
no one asked.
On Bunny XO's podcast called Dumb Blonde, when speaking of her relationship with Morgan Wallen, she goes, he's a great fuck buddy. She said that Wallen is a good guy with a big heart, but he's been with every woman on the planet. And she goes, on their first date, he kissed me in the rain. It was the sweetest thing. But she goes, he didn't hurt my feelings, but I'll be honest with you. He was the first guy in my fucking life that wasn't just completely enamored with me. It really threw me. I love having the upper hand, and I love feeling like I felt like I didn't have the upper hand. It's like, we get it. Every guy is in love with you, Kristin. Like, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yes. Oh my God, that's literally her way of being like, guys are usually obsessed with me. So,
Yeah, yeah. It's like we already see it on the screen, Kristin. Like, we know.
oh my God, she's so annoying.
Later that year, also with Tyler Cameron, they did a steamy Uncommon James campaign where they were making out in this photo, and it was, of course, released on Valentine's Day. And I'll give this to I almost said Caitlin, to Kristin. She knows how to market the hell out of herself, and she will attach herself to any guy if it means selling more product. And the man of that hour in 2023 was Tyler Cameron. It kind of still is Tyler Cameron, but now he's in a
Is it?
relationship.
Is
I mean,
it?
we should actually do a Tate. Is that her name?
Yeah.
We should do an episode on them. They're like really
Yeah,
nefarious
there's
to me.
something interesting about them. But it's funny because I feel like Tyler Cameron, he was on The Bachelorette in what was it, 2020, 2019?
Before then, I was still living in SF at that time, so it had been pre 2020.
Hannah Brown. I'm gonna look this up.
I
Hannah
think it was
Brown
like
season of The
2019.
Bachelorette. I feel like it was 2019 also. Yeah, 2019. And so everyone was obsessed with Tyler Cameron. And then I don't know, I feel like he's kind of like washed up by now. Do people
Yeah,
still care about him? Do people still care about him? Let us
no, you're
know.
right. He's not as relevant, but like he's still hot, and she just loves to kind of she attaches on to like what she knows will bring
Yeah.
headlines.
Yeah.
Um, okay, so in 2024, she went public with 24-year-old member of the Montana Boys, Mark Estes. She was 37 at the time, and I just can't get over it. When she's 13 years older than him, so when she was filming season 2 of Laguna, he was 5.
Oh my
But
God.
it's just so weird to think about them. I remember she hard launched them, and I remember thinking, who is this guy? And this was very controversial because of the age difference, but she says that Mark was the best boyfriend she'd ever had. They would engage in a lot of PDA in their brief 7-month relationship, but by October of 2024, she announced that they had split. She said that the 13-year age gap was too much, and she knew long term they wouldn't be able to be sustained. And she confirmed the breakup on one of the Unwell tours in Austin, Texas. I remember watching a podcast episode of them together, and I forgot the premise of it, but it was like drink or like answer the question or take a shot. And I could tell they were both getting kind of toasty, and you could tell physically just watching the video episode how uncomfortable he was and how she would say, "Don't you want more babies?" And he was
Ugh.
like, "I guess, like I'm 24." Like you could tell they were not on the same page. So it was painfully obvious that she was more into him than he was into her. And when they broke up a couple weeks after that podcast episode aired, I felt like that had something to do with it.
That he had been the one to call it off.
She says it was her, but I
Of
feel
course
like
she would.
right. But I'm like, I don't know, based on that podcast episode alone, it seemed they were very much on different pages. She was ready to
Yeah.
get married and he was not, obviously.
Yeah.
Nick Lachey, obviously.
Huh.
So in this year, she was actually linked to a former NHL hockey player, Nate Thompson, who was a more appropriate age against her. He is 39, but she said she wouldn't like reveal who he was. She just said he's an ex-hockey player. He's been retired for a couple of years now. He's a dad. He's someone who's done a lot of work on himself. We've really connected on such a deep level. He's one of the deeper relationships that I've had, especially in such a short amount of time. But Nate Thompson actually addressed their split on his own podcast, saying she's a cool person. We had a good time. Life is gonna life. Didn't work out. So let's talk about her marriage to Jay Cutler. They were first introduced in 2010 after Jay saw Kristin on TV, and he had his agent set them up. And I'm also curious, like how frequent this happens when one celebrity's team wants to hook them up with another person, they get their teams involved. That probably happens all the time, I'd
I feel
imagine.
like that happens all the time. Like I feel like Taylor Swift and Travis Kelsey.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
exactly. So, according to Kristen, they hit it off almost instantaneously. She says, we hung out 2 nights later, and that became began a swift and intense romance. And I flew back to Chicago at least every 2 weeks. And after just 8 months of dating, Jay proposed in April of 2011. But by July 2011, Kristen got cold feet and she called off the wedding. And she says, at that moment, I knew something wasn't right. A few things needed to change. And I knew the only way Jay would see how serious I was if I ended the relationship. And she later cited, from my recollection from her interviews, that at the time in 2011, when they broke off their first engagement, Jay was really into Kristen being like a homemaker and being a stay-at-home mom, like kind of like leaning
Yeah.
into those like heteronormative roles.
Yeah.
But Kristen was more like, I want to continue pushing my career along. And I think that's why they ultimately ended up breaking up the first time. But I think, honestly, when she got her second wind of fame, once Vera Cavallari started and Jay had just retired, she was getting super frustrated because she's like, you're retired and all you're doing is sitting around. Like, he had promised her that he was going to be a part of like a Fox News endeavor. He was going to be some kind of like newscaster for Fox News. That didn't end up panning well. And so when his career is kind of dimming down, hers is skyrocketing back up. And I really feel like the reason that they broke off their first engagement was very much the reason why they broke up the second time. Like nothing
Yeah.
had really changed. Um, but they had three children together. Their first, Camden, born in 2012. Their second, Jackson in 2013 or 2014, and then Sailor, their daughter, in 2015. Um, Sorry, let me see what else to read here. There was a lot of drama about Kristin Cavallari and her co-star Kelly. And there was a lot of
On Barry Cavallari.
yes, there was a lot of cheating rumors.
Yes, I remember this actually.
Season three, where according to Kristen Kelly, there were some rumblings around town that Kelly and Jay had had a relationship,
Hmm.
and during when they were still married. And according to Kristen, Kelly had only reached out to her to talk about like production schedules. And Kristen also thought that Kelly had handled the cheating rumors very poorly on social media. Kristen said that Kelly tried to post something about the gossip and kept bringing up Jay on Twitter, but she was like adding more fuel to the fire. And Kristen was kind of theorizing, are you trying to like generate a storyline for yourself to stay on the show? Like, what's going on here? She felt as if Kelly was prioritizing the fame and the show over their friendship. And she's like, why do you keep posting about that? To get more attention about it? If I was accused of having an affair with your husband, I wouldn't be saying his fucking name on social media. Come on. And Kristen said, instead of Kelly owning her side of it and being like, oh, I'm sorry, that was never my intention, she kept giving me more pushback and she would get really defensive about the claims. And pretty much Kristen alleged that Kelly stopped responding to her altogether. And to add even more fuel to the fire, when Kristen and Jay had announced their divorce in May of 2020, Kelly had posted a photo of a man on her Instagram story. I think it was like of an arm, and people suspected, is that man's arm Jay Cutler, because the bracelets on this arm looked very similar to Jay's bracelets. But Kelly was like, no, 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 this man was actually a boyfriend of mine who's a very private person. Don't worry, it's not about Jay. Kristen said that she tried to reconcile this relationship with Kelly through email. Like she wrote her this long email about how hurt she was, but Kelly didn't want to take part and like own any part of her wrongdoing in the situation. And that's when they stopped being friends, which is quite juicy for TV, if you ask me. I don't know if what you remember of
Wow.
this or
Yeah.
like if you can add anything to this from your viewing of the show.
I mean, I barely remember the show, honestly, but I do remember this happening. And yeah, that was scandalous for sure.
Yes. And when Jay and Kristen had divorced in the first few months of their filing, there were a lot of disputes over money and custody of the
Uh-huh.
children. And Kristen allegedly accused Jay of trying to freeze their assets. And she had filed legal documents claiming that he was refusing to let her buy him out of their Nashville home that they shared.
Wow.
They later resolved the issues privately, but my God, I feel like it's interesting because Jay has so much money from the NFL, but Kristen, also if she was smart with her money, she's been doing this for decades. She probably has a lot of money too, but I'd imagine just like at a high level, Jay probably had more money at the
Yeah,
time.
definitely. Definitely.
And when you have two people that are very famous that both have money, it's like, what is spousal support? What would the alimony look like? I'd imagine it would
It
get
gets
very
messy.
confusing.
Yeah.
Yes. In divorce filings, Kristen accused Jay of marital misconduct, which led to a lot of speculation, like what kind of misconduct? And At the time, tabloid sources said that the breakup was due to Jay's unmotivated and lazy attitude after, retiring from professional sports. But finally, the couple settled their divorce in 2022 with an agreement to share joint custody of the kids, and they were amicable for a while. Kristin posted on Instagram for Father's Day. She called Jay the best dad on her caption. But in 2023 to 2025, that's when things started to heat up again against these two. In 2024, Kristin called Jay a pathological liar with zero fucking consistency. In a December 2024 Dumb Blonde interview, she said she was tired of people thinking that her success post divorce was thanks to Jay's football money. And on her podcast tour on Honestly Cavallari, that docu-series this year, she answered questions about her divorce. And she said, listen, Jay did not fund a penny towards Uncommon James. She said, I never got a penny from my ex-husband. I didn't get any money from our divorce. So let's just clear that up. And Jay clapped back on his own podcast. He's, whoa, whoa, whoa. He's like, you're fully lying about this divorce settlement. He says, you can go and see how much I made in the NFL. It's online. You can see the contract from year to year and the total amount at the end of the 12 years. He had earned approximately 130 million during his 12-year NFL stint.
Yeah.
He said, listen, it's irresponsible, it's reckless. I think it's borderline slander to insinuate that there was $0 split during this marriage that each side got. He said that Uncommon James was a marital asset, but because it was created during their union.
Yeah.
He said that, listen, no Tennessee court would have ever approved a zero payment divorce, knowing the amount of money I made. Which,
Yeah.
low-key, I kind of agree with Jay.
100%.
This is very irresponsible for her to
A
be
hundred
touting around.
percent. Oh my God. And yeah, the fact that, okay, first of all, when we were talking about, Kristen definitely had good money, but Jay had NFL quarterback money. So
Right.
we're talking over $100 million worth of assets. Yeah. And there are kids involved. She is airing this out publicly. It's so messy. It's so, like he said, it's like irresponsible and reckless. Like it's just so bizarre. And also like when they got divorced and she cited, he was lazy and unmotivated. It's like he's retired now. Like he gets to retire. He spent years and not to side with, douche lord Jay Cutler. I'm not like a Jay Cutler fan, but it's like
Sure.
he spent years working really hard. Like NFL players, even though they get paid a lot of money to seemingly, work for only a portion of the year, they work extremely hard. They get beat up. They
Of
literally
course.
are slowly killing themselves with
Yes.
CTE. He deserves to be done working. Like he deserves it.
100%.
Like, what do you mean he's lazy and unmotivated? What do you want him to do? Like, get like a desk job?
Right, right. And it's almost to the point where she would say, oh, after he retired, he would just be playing with our kids or going to the farm and like, managing the chickens. It's like, think about a retired person. The goal is to make as much money as possible so you never have to work again.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's exactly what he should be doing is taking care of the kids and hanging out with the chickens
Let
in a
him
coop.
enjoy himself with his chickens.
Yes. So, sources close to Kristen then rebutted by calling Jay's response a standard gaslighting tactic from a known narcissist. And I'm not saying Jay's perfect, right? He's no
No,
angel either, sweetheart.
Jay sucks also.
Right. So
But
in October 2024, Jay Cutler was jailed in Tennessee after a DUI. He spent 4 days in jail after striking a plea deal for his DUI and gun possession from a gun possession case from back in October of 2024. He was arrested in Franklin for a DUI, gun possession, failure to exercise due care, and violation of implied consent law. He rear-ended another car and allegedly tried to flee the scene.
oh my
He
God.
offered to pay the driver 2K if he did not call the police on him. He was visibly drunk. They found two guns in his truck, one with a loaded pistol. What do you need a loaded pistol in your car for? That's really scary.
Crazy.
He pleaded guilty to one count of misdemeanor DUI, while prosecutors dismissed his weapon possession charge upon forfeiture of the gun. Can you imagine if this were a black man?
Oh, it would be like decades in prison. It's
Yes.
so fucked up.
It is very fucked up, but because he's a handsome, wealthy
White, wealthy man. Yeah.
athlete, of course he's going to get off with a $350 fine and his license revoked. What other consequence would there be? Kristen addressed this DUI on the pod in October of 2024, saying, I do, of course, wish Jay nothing but the best, and I do hope that he gets the help that he needs, but that's the only thing I will be saying publicly about it. So let's talk about her controversies, her anti-vax. So you have to remember when she's been really, really blatant about her anti-vaccination, like rhetoric, it was before like the Trump administration. And I think if she were to make these claims today, we would be having a very different story about Kristin, I think. But I think people have kind of forgotten about it. But in 2014, she said that she would not vaccinate her children in a Fox Business interview. And later, she doubled down on this on Watch What Happens Live. She said that she had read too much about alleged links between vaccines and autism and was following her mother's intuition and not immunizing her kids. She said, quote, I've read too many books about autism and there's some scary statistics out there. I'm just a mom. I'm trying to make the best decision for my kid.
It's so stupid. So dumb.
Crickets, dot, dot, dot. Sure, Jen. In 2016, when Trump was in the US presidential race for the first time, and there was that infamous Access Hollywood tapes that were released about grab him by the pussy,
Yeah.
she said on Sirius XM, I actually do think that guys talk like that. They do. However, obviously, as a woman, as a mother, I don't want to hear that. However, guys are kind of sleazy and they do talk about that stuff. Some of my girlfriends even talk like that. It's like, okay, Kristen, you could say that shit in private. Don't say that on a public radio show. Like, what are you saying?
So
Like, shut
stupid.
up.
She could really like just benefit from having a filter.
Yes, exactly. She also suggested that Trump may have been justified in thinking that he could treat women in the manner that he described. She says, obviously, guys with power and money, they kind of can get any girl, unfortunately. I mean, girls do throw themselves at these guys, and so they kind of do whatever they want, which isn't necessarily okay. But I do think that they kind of can talk, they talk like this, and it happens more than we think.
My God.
And she says that one of her two youngest sons would probably grow up to talk just like Trump. She said, I would probably slap my sons across the face if she heard them talking like Trump, though. Like,
Oh my
okay, that doesn't
God.
make it any better. Um, there was these, this is kind of a little out of line, I think, but it's worth calling out. So in July 2016, she posted an Instagram picture of her two sons playing on the beach, and they looked just like very thin, like just small frames. And commentators were accusing her of starving her children because they looked very, in their words, like emaciated, very skinny. And she clapped back, saying, Yep, I starve my children. Just blocked the most people I've ever blocked in my entire life. Happy fourth. Ha 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 ha. And she says, my family eats a very healthy diet, no processed toxic foods, and her kids inherited her own lean figure. And she says that I'm the kind of person that does not eat any toxic chemicals. I just try to eat real food. I can look really skinny and I don't like that look. So yes, I'm drinking protein shakes, I'm trying to put on muscle, and I'm lifting very heavy weight now. She's just like leaning in very much to what I'd say today is like a Maha type
Oh,
of
hasn't she said publicly that she doesn't use sunscreen? She doesn't believe in sunscreen and she thinks
correct.
sunscreen is more toxic than the sun. So she has encouraged her podcast listeners and probably, I'm sure, doesn't use sunscreen on her children.
It's very dangerous. Do not listen to Kristin Cavallari. And the scary part is she has so many millions and
Yeah.
millions of followers and women that do follow her advice. I can totally see a very malleable woman listening to her saying, well, if Kristin Cavallari doesn't put sunscreen on her kids, she looks great for her age. I shouldn't wear sunscreen, neither should my
Yeah.
kids. Like,
Yeah.
and especially if you're like, I know like white fair people are like more susceptible to skin damage. Like that's incredibly dangerous. You can literally die.
Yeah.
It's
Skin
so
cancer.
it's so irresponsible.
Yeah.
This is like kind of silly, but it's worth calling out. So on 9/11, 2019, Kristen posted a picture of herself to Instagram in New York City with a plunging black dress with the caption NYC for 24 hours and what a time to be here, dot, 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 always remember. And people were immediately outraged because they're like, what kind of picture of this? What kind of
It's like a sexy thirst trap picture.
Yes. And it's like a plunging neckline, her boobs are kind of showing, and people were like, what? This is such poor taste. And it turned out, as according to Kristen, that she didn't write the caption. An employee on her social media team had posted it without her approval. Like,
I think it's so ridiculous when these like D-list reality stars act like they don't run their own social media. Like you're not Angelina Jolie.
you're not Leonardo DiCaprio. Like,
Yeah.
give me a break. Your whole
Give me a
job is to be
break.
on social.
Yeah, like I do not believe that for 1 second. But that's always how they shift blame, you know?
Right. If Rachel posted anything on our behalf, like if it's something that we didn't agree with, I wouldn't be like, well, Rachel did it.
No, like everything that comes from our account is approved by us. And it would be really unheard of for someone managing the social account of a reality star, which that's not even a thing, I feel like. I'm sorry, I'm just going to say
No,
it.
she's lying. I think she's lying.
These reality stars run their own social media accounts. They do.
Totally agree. Totally agree. And she even went so far as to say, oh, I fired the employee who wrote it.
Okay. Is that employee in the room with us right now? Like that employee doesn't exist. I love how she could be like, I fired them. They did not exist.
Whomst is it?
Yeah. Yeah. She's acting like she like did the right thing and did a really hard thing by firing them.
Oh
They
my
didn't
God.
exist. Oh
No.
my God.
Let's talk about the Southern Charm and Madison LaCroix feud. So again, as I talked about, she was seen partying with the Southern Charm boys, and Austin said to Us Weekly in October of 2020, she came to town with her friend Justin, and the four of us with Craig had dinner. We had all been in contact ever since. We're in this like big old group chat, and the group is active. We had a blast with them, and I'm gonna take a trip to them to see them in Nashville sometime soon. And that next month, Madison leaves a comment on Jay Cutler's photo that he had taken with Shannon Ford and says, "See y'all soon." And people were like, oh my God, that's so messy. Like Madison's inserting herself into this Kristin Cavallari, Jay Cutler drama because we all know Kristin hates Shannon. She obviously is in this like messy divorce with Jay. And
Yeah.
now Madison, whose ex is with Austin, who Kristin's hanging out with, is inserting herself. It's like this like spider web of just chaos and
Oh
hookups.
God.
And Madison LaCroix replied to a comment by Celeb's post about Austin's remarks saying, "Trust me, if he was with her, he wouldn't be sending me songs at midnight. Bless."
Oh my God.
In December of that year, Austin and Craig spent a weekend at Kristen's home. They went on IG Live, drunkenly singing "We Are Never Ever Getting Back Together." And there were so many hookup rumors that were ignited throughout the Bravo sphere, which everyone denied. They all three said, no, 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 we're just friends. And Madison said on Entertainment Tonight, "I think he's trying to get under my skin, which is fine. And like, honestly, if he can pull her, go for it. Knock yourself out. I would be shocked. I just think he was just trying to get a rise, get a comment out of me. And he did." And Austin was like telling Us Weekly, well, me and Madison aren't even on speaking terms, so whatever.
Do you think that I feel like Kristen may have hooked up with both Craig and Austin?
I think so too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that we're hearing about the Craig breakup, but I think there's a world in which she maybe hooked
Yeah.
up with Austin first and then she had a longer thing with Craig. In January of 21, Madison said on Watch What Happens Live about Kristen and Austin. She was asked about them. And she brought up the fact, well, Andy brought up the fact that Jay had flown to Madison's hometown to see her, and the two had been linked. And Andy had asked her, have you been hanging out with Jay Cutler? And she goes, I'm not kissing and telling. That same month, Madison threw shade at Kristen by mocking that Instagram live that she had taken with the boys and Justin. And she made a snarky comment about Kristen partying with them. And she goes, don't worry, my kid's at my dad's. I think when that video was made, hers weren't. Basically insinuating that Kristen was like party rocking with the boys when her kids were sleeping upstairs.
Oh God.
And that month, January of 21, Jay and Kristen posted this very cryptic Instagram post saying the world is full of users. 10 years. Can't break that. Super cringy. But they were still on non-speaking terms to our knowledge, Jay and Kristen. So people were saying, oh, now they're uniting against like this common enemy that is Madison LaCroix. And Jay was pretty pissed at Madison at the time because she had leaked text messages between her and Jay about his intent in pursuing her and seeing her. Do you remember this?
No.
Yeah, so she leaked text messages and it's basically saying, when are you coming here? You didn't tell me anything. He goes, I'm coming to hang out with you. She's like, well, you got to ask me. He said, haha, I was going to ask you today. And she goes, ask me or tell me you've already booked it. And he responds, do you want to hang out next weekend? Okay, don't stress about it. I bought the flight yesterday because it was the last direct one. If it doesn't work out, I can change it to some other time. And then she brings up all these receipts of him getting pissed about her talking about him on Watch What Happens Live and continuing to fuel the rumors. And Jay in the screenshot tells Madison, it was insinuated and my name was also brought into it, which I didn't appreciate. And Madison goes, Jay, I've done nothing but respect you and your privacy. I respect you and I respect your family, and I would never say anything to jeopardize you and your family. And Jay responds, didn't seem like that was the case. Maybe it was accidental. I don't know. No one wants this mess. I appreciate you saying that. I think we can all respect each other and move forward at the very least.
Madison's so messy.
She really is like so messy and she always leans into this drama. And I feel like just because she's pretty and has that halo effect, people forget that she's a fucking
No,
menace.
that is one person that like actually defines the term dark energy. There's something very, very, very sinister about her.
Yes. And
Outing her
just
cast members' STDs is like the least of it. Like she just is not a good person, in my opinion. Everybody sucks here. Moral of the story.
Yes, I agree. And Justin Anderson clarified in a TikTok saying he thinks Madison was using Christian and Jay to try and get everyone's attention. It was never going to work. Madison fooled everyone with all this victim stuff. He's like, if everyone just stops saying Madison's name, she'll stop making stuff up for attention. And he said that her comments were cheap.
God.
Kristin appeared on Craig and Austin's podcast, Pillows and Beer, and she said, someone on your show, obviously referring to Madison, was repeatedly asking my soon to be ex husband to come onto your show. This girl just wants me to be seen with her. They're just like both giving in to like the dumpster fire that is this chaos of
It's
web.
so immature. Like,
It's
grow
so
up.
immature, but I feel like Madison is definitely pushing this along a lot, and Kristin is merely responding. And Madison kind of got herself into some her own things. Like, remember when she met up with A-Rod when him and JLo were ending their
Yeah.
engagement? Like, Madison is just always at the scene of the crime.
Yeah.
Um, and I think it's worth pointing out that we now know Kristen has admitted as recently as like over the last year that Craig and her, despite her denial of it for so long, her and Craig were definitely like in not I wouldn't say in a relationship, but they were definitely seeing each other. And she knew that when Craig and Paige were spotted in New York City, seemingly together, she called Craig and was like, listen, what's going on? And he's like, yeah, me and Paige were kind of seeing each other. And he ended up choosing Paige. And she said, that's when I knew I had to back off of Craig because he was in it with Paige for the long haul, it seemed. And,
And
but
Craig was such a liar and a gaslighter to Paige.
yes, there was a whole scene in Summer
Yeah.
House when he was like denying that anything had
Yeah.
ever
He,
happened, but
he
he
was
was
like, you're going to
clearly,
believe her about Lindsay. Like, oh my God, you're going to believe her. Ow, that hurts my throat. I hate Craig.
yeah, but Kristen has been enmeshed in just so many scandals, hookups. I think her controversies are honestly the worst part about her as it pertains to like her spouting rhetoric on anti-vax and saying that Trump's comments weren't that egregious. Yes, they were. Yes, you use everyone's name for clout. Yes, you're holding on to your fame from when you were 17 years old. I don't know what you're famous for today. And I'm also incredibly curious on her demographic of people that follow her so
Yeah.
intensely.
I'm curious too. And I just think that, this just really exemplifies how messy and chaotic and kind of immature she is. And not to act holier than thou, because I'm not the most mature person alive, but the way that she, like we said, spills things to the press and makes things everyone's business, whether it's the fact that she slept with Morgan Wallen and he's good in bed, which I'm sure he didn't appreciate. Like,
I
like,
know.
imagine if it was the other way around. Imagine if it's Morgan Wallen, he was like Kristin Cavallari, great in bed. We'd be like, why are you like exposing that about a woman? And then her like divorce details about Jay Cutler. It's like she does not have a filter,
Yeah.
which I think gets her in trouble. But then she like acts like the victim. Like, I don't know. I find her very insufferable.
And the thing about everything she like tells us, we don't need to know that. But then she complains about everyone spreading the headlines about her. It's like, stop feeding into your own narrative. Like, I feel like that's how she maintains relevancy, though. She sees the cycle of attention. I spill a hookup, it gets reported on People Magazine. I complain about it being reported on People Magazine. Then I'm going to tell you about my next hookup, and then you can report it again. It's
Right.
just this circle of continuous, just her own clout being
Bullshit.
chased.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
It's
just
just like
bullshit.
bullshit. Like she's just like exhausting. Like I just feel like she's a very insufferable person. I'm sorry.
I agree. And I think a lot of her demographic, honestly, is the way I would best describe it is people that followed her career, like me, but like the people that really identify with what she says is people that
Yeah.
probably got married young, that are kind of like have a bunch of kids. Like, that's kind of the person I
Yeah.
see following her earnestly. I
Yeah.
follow her because I'm like interested in the drama and the chaos, and it's very nostalgic for me, but I'm not like taking her word for gospel. I'm not a stan of hers.
Yeah.
We're just interested in her as like a celebrity.
Yeah.
But that's that on Kristen Cavallari. Any other closing thoughts, Soph?
No, I feel like you did a great job. Thank you for walking us through it. This was a fun one.
Yeah.
Nostalgic.
Yeah. So you guys know where to find us. We're at Snarkbait Pod on Instagram. We host or we do bonus content on Patreon, patreon.com/snarkbait pod every Wednesday. So head on over there if you want more content and ad-free episodes on there. I'm at Christy Noel __. Sophie is at Soph_Ross. We're also on YouTube. All these links are in our show notes, and we'll see you guys on Tuesday for another episode of DET. Bye.
Bye.